What's up, everyone? Today we're going to take a look at this, I don't know, 7, 8 year old juniper and look at some of the problems that I have unintentionally created with the lifeline and how to resolve them. All right, so I've folded over the lip of the fabric pot, and now I'm going to kind of try to rotate this so we can see into the nooks and crannies of this tree. So as you can see, it's pretty convoluted. So the entire lifeline is on the outside of this turn here. But then as it goes from here and twists up around the side and then back down into here, it's widening a little bit, and then it gets into this area where the trunk kind of doubles back on itself. So I need to get into here, which I've already done a little bit in the past, but as you can see, the space in there is closing up. So I want to take off some of that lifeline, but I also need to take into account what is the design of the tree going to be ultimately, and which parts of the lifeline do I want to prioritize in terms of growing. Before we go any further, let's just take a second to orient you to the part of the process that we're in terms of looking at this juniper that's the main topic for this video. Now, you might be saying to yourself, where would I even get a juniper like that? And the answer to that is you wouldn't. You would generally need to create it yourself. So the process up to this point has been to start from a cutting. This is an Itoigawa, and the juniper in the rest of the video is a kishu, but the process is the same. We have a video on the channel about doing juniper cutting propagation. Then from this, you would wire using whatever type of wire you want. And importantly, you would be putting not only movement into these long whips, but also twisting them so that the lifeline doesn't just go up one side of the curve. Once you've done that, you would set it aside and let it grow out for a couple of years and end up with something like this. Once you get to here, you would then have the opportunity to start creating some Jin and Shari on the trunk in order to start changing the shape of the trunk like we've seen in that example that I started with. Now, all of this is sort of the result of repetition, repetitive work, and different types of work at different times. So if you want more details on that, we actually have a full e-course on creating junipers like this on bonsaify.com. Check it out if you want all of the details on getting to the point that we're at in the rest of this video. And now let's get back to the primary example. So I want to clear out this section, but I also want to be cognizant that as that lifeline continues up over this curve, there appears to be some additional movement in the lifeline, as in it's kind of twisting down around this curve and over into this section that's sort of behind it. And so I want to see if I can save the portion of the lifeline that is kind of right on the top and outside here, essentially removing this edge in order to clean up this valley area, and then removing some on the other side, or what would be the other side if there had been bark removed already, to really kind of make this into a lifeline instead of what it is becoming right now, which is a large bulge. Okay, so having cleaned up this portion and I killed off this little branch here, I now want to take this edge of the lifeline and trim it back like this, going around the side here and coming back up over back in here. Now, I haven't really taken this very far, so I'm going to try to pull up a big piece of bark in order to give myself a clear pathway and really delineate the twisting motion rather than just having this continue to make a ball of wood. So now hopefully I've cleared out this section here, if we come around to this side, you can see that I cleared out this section as well. So this lifeline is coming down this side and then wrapping around there. It's always a little bit tricky in these tight kind of situations to actually see what's going on and understand the lifeline. All right, and now looking at the opposite side of that turn, I had to come in here and dig out kind of almost all the sapwood and bark from this turn to make it look more interesting and less likely to turn into just a big knot. So in doing that, I have some conflicting lifeline stuff going on here already. What I think is happening is the lifeline on the top here is flowing around down to here. That's connecting up with this kind of in a V shape down here. Meanwhile, the lifeline that's underneath here actually goes to that branch that's now in the back and then splits off onto this lower section. So usually I don't have any problems with dieback when I do these sorts of operations incrementally, but we'll see what happens. Usually it takes a month or more before you know if there's going to be any damage from the lifeline work that you did. All right, so just a little bit of lifeline deconfliction. Hopefully that will work out well. I should say the other work that could happen at this time with this tree is to continue wiring and doing some additional sort of bending and twisting. There's a lot of core wood in here already because it's been wired 2 or 3 times that has good movement in it. But if I did ultimately decide I wanted this to be a larger composition, I would need to have more of these sacrifice branches being wired so that I could use them as deadwood later. That wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.